Hello, I am the Ronan Paul, and welcome to a twitch.tv/Ronan Paul live stream on Twitch TV/Ronan Paul. The opening beer can is the dot. You can figure that one out. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a Wednesday live stream at 2-ish o'clock, 2 p.m., 2-ish p.m. Eastern time here in the States, here in the Detroits. Because yesterday, our Tuesday live stream was called off on account of rain in the form of sleep that I desperately needed due to the disease that throws your sleep cycles into hell and gives you chronic pain and all of the other things that I've got, which makes just everything, life in general, so fun. Welcome to Kerbal Space Program. That doesn't look like Kerbal Space Program. That looks like... There we go. That looks like Kerbal Space Program. So yeah, we missed last night's live stream because, you know, I needed rest and restorative, and it hasn't been very restorative lately, my rest. And so I called it off on the hopes that I would fall asleep. I tried to stay up as much as I could. Try to not fall asleep at 4 or 5 p.m., which is about when I fell asleep. Tried it because that's what my sleep schedule's been like. I have woken up here consecutively. Let me describe like the past week for you. I woke up one day at 6 p.m., the next day at 9 p.m., so 3 hours later. The next day at 3 p.m., 6 hours earlier. The next day at midnight, so 9 hours later. The next day, I believe I was back to 6 p.m. because I was forced myself to get up for a live stream, and I believe after that it was 2 a.m. So that's, yeah, and there's been like napping going on, and maybe not napping, well, I mean, not napping in the way that napping usually sounds, which is like a pleasant experience of, you know, getting a couple extra nods in and then waking up refreshed and going back at your day, but more like, you know, passing out for a couple of minutes here and there, and then waking up and feeling like you just live in eternal darkness and you never get to see the outside when it doesn't look like... You know what? In my games, let's at least... Oh my god! Daylight! Oh, Jesus! Hell, my eyes! I haven't seen it in so long! Hello, Aerospacer. Okay, welcome to an it's scheduled because in my notification for yesterday's live stream, because we're supposed to be doing these Tuesdays, Thursdays, Sundays, 8 p.m., I said, this one's canceled, and then on Twitter I said, high likelihood of a stream on Wednesday, tomorrow, which is now today, at a random time. So in that, it's been said, it's not particularly helpful to anybody who's trying to figure out when I'd be streaming. But here we are. We're making up for it. We're making good on our promises by doing an extra stream. And I'll probably be back here tomorrow on Thanksgiving because I surely haven't been feeling like I can get out and go visit people and do the whole Turkey Day thing. You know, that's not not on the plan. So where are we in the world of Kerbal Space Program? This is our career mode play that we do on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We're up to almost 5 million. I think we've been over 5 million Kerbox. In Condor 70, immediately, first 5 minutes and 51 seconds of the live stream, and Condor is in with a subscription, 13 months, a year and a month. Good, you're early, yes. I'm early by a day as well. We don't usually do these on the Wednesdays, but I'm earlier streaming, and thank you so much, Condor 70, for the subscription, for the year and a month's worth of subscriptions. Welcome back to the Big Dick Club. Will Fries, hello guys, what mic is that? Ooh, you want to know what mic this is? This is the Movo UM700, which I know, just off the top. Movo UM700. This is a mic that was given to me by Movo to, you know, review, to test, review, because I've done some reviews on YouTube. Maybe that's why you're asking, Will Fries, of microphones. They sent me this one. I accepted it. I get, you know, I still get, like, occasional, hey, you want to try our microphones? And most of them are like, no, thanks, no, not at all. I see what you're selling there, no. But this one was very interesting to me for a whole bunch of reasons that will make for a really good, really interesting and intriguing video about this microphone, and that I haven't made, and that I feel like it's been 6 months now that Movo gave me this thing for free, and I haven't done anything because I just... chronic fatigue and life and whatever other excuse I can come up with for not fulfilling my obligations. But yeah, this is a very interesting UM700. This actually has a stereo field mode on it. So I would love to take it apart to see what they're doing. If they've got 3 microphones in there, 2 in an XY cross pattern, and then 1 for like the main vocal condenser, or if they're using the 2 XYs, but then they're using them as mono for the main vocal. But there's also like a front and a back that you can, localize to. And in terms of like patterns, cardioids, and stuff like that, between these different modes, it's like there are either 4 pickups in this microphone, or they're doing something really weird and interesting. One way or another, it's got a stereo mode where you can pick up left and right from this mic. It sounds pretty damn good in all of the modes that it is, and it's also like this weird thing because it's a USB mic. So it's like this musical mic that's also good for vocals, but it's USB. And it's so weird. Like that's the whole reason why I accepted this microphone, because it sounded really interesting. Because of like what is the market for this microphone? What did they think the market of this microphone was? And I feel like this is probably a microphone that was meant for musicians, to be on the lower end of mics for me, because it's a $100 mic, $100. So lower end of like good mic that's got a whole bunch of features for musicians, and then maybe they redid the tech or rebranded it when they weren't making enough sales in order to make it USB, one, and 2, to target it at live streamers and YouTubers and stuff like that. And I feel like for $100, it's a very specific microphone for people who want to get into like audio work. Because it out of the box, it doesn't sound the best that it could. It sounds a lot better than the other mic that I was using, before, that I had to do a massive EQ on to get to that point. It's got way more dynamic range. It's got way more of, all of the EQ that comes in from it. It's a better mic, but it costs more, so you're paying for it, and it all balances out kind of a thing. But for the features of standard mono forward with blocking on the back, full mono in both directions, front, I think they've got like a side to side. They got a front and back where you could be like doing an interview and I could be talking from this side and the other guy could be talking from that side, and there's separation there. And then there's the left and right stereo mode, and it's just like a really interesting mic that seems like, why is it USB? If you're going to make a mic like this, surely it should be XLR, because you're marketing toward musicians. So it's like really specific, and yet I think there is like a big market for this kind of a thing, even though it's very specific. This is perfect for like a budget solution for recording your whole band in the basement by just pulling your laptop down, plugging this thing into it, and boom, you're up and live, instead of needing a mini mixer board that outputs to a recording device, etc., and so on. So like, very interesting microphone right here that I've been happy to use for my live streams, and I feel a little bit better about how long I've let Movo just sit without me reviewing it and making a video for it by saying all of this right now, which is why I'm still saying it and ignoring the other subscription that came in, which is, I wasn't looking, Dripperino with a 3rd month of subscription. Welcome back to the Big Dick Club. That's 9 inches in total. You keep growing. Thank you so much for the channel support. Very pleasant to the ears. Weird thing too is, just before this live stream, I'm trying to figure out what's going on, because like my levels are not as hot as they usually are. Since the last live stream, I can tell that everything's not quite where it usually was, and I changed to nothing. So I assume Microsoft sent down an operating system patch like they do that fucks up all of your audio settings or something, but it's still working and it's still sounding good. So I said, all right, I'll leave it where it is. More or less. I made a couple of tweaks. Due to your strict streaming schedule, I almost always miss the stream. I'm sorry, Condor. That was one of the things, was we were going to stream for a while and then see about that 8 p.m. Eastern time slot and if it works out for people. But, I'm also, if it works out for me with my sleep schedule, and since I have no sleep schedule, I have no idea yet. We're still just in territories that are whatever you would do with territories. They haven't been walked. They haven't been nailed down to the ground. It's VideoCat but still good idea. It sounds great. Yeah, and this one, you know, I EQ and compress and do all of this stuff inline. It's all being live handled by Reaper right now to get it to sound like this specifically. But this took much less of an EQ, you know, more of a standard kind of bumping of the lows, dipping in the mids, bumping at the highs, whereas the other one that I gave a very positive review to on YouTube, the equalization that I put on it was like, in order to get it to sound as good as it did then. And I think this one sounds a little bit better. It's a little bit more open. But enough about the microphone. Kerbal space program, here's where we are. We're building rockets, sending people to space and stuff. The last thing that we did was send Bill in his new engineer's ship to the surface of Minmus by way of a satellite in orbit of Minmus that we repaired on the way. We added some functionality to it. And then landed and recovered Pika-Pup, who was stranded on the surface of Minmus after landing there with just not quite enough Delta V to come home. Managed to give him the fuel that he needed to get off the surface. And now here we are without me having any real plan of what happens next or what comes next. We have this contract to explore Eve in our list, and we're on the first year, day 154 currently. So what I want to do is head over to the tracking station and look at when our timer for the best time to leave for Eve kicks in, which will be under, what? There. So Kerbal Eve, it's saying 0 year, 113 days. So this must be the amount of time that's between us and when we would leave. It's still 113 days out. I was thinking that it might be that the 113 there might have been the day. We're already past 150, like we were coming up on it soon, and maybe I should prep for it. But if we're the better part of 113, like a third of a year, I don't know what a year is in Kerbal for their planet. But if we're that far away, then we're not thinking about Eve, which is more's the better, because I don't really want to at this point. Come on back to me, frame rate. So we're not thinking about Eve right now. What other missions have we taken? Build an orbital station around Minmus. If I recall correctly, this was a pretty simple build. The only thing that they want more than the average for a station, which is 5 Kerbals, and it can, you know, do all of the things a station needs to do, is a cupola module, which is a one-occupant cockpit. But, you know, the cupola module where it's that circle pane of glass surrounded by like a hex of glass. Otherwise it's a viewing port. So we could look into that. We've also got a contract to position a satellite in geosynchronous orbit of Kerbal, which doesn't pay that well, but needs to be done sooner or later. Plant a flag on Minmus, like we haven't already done like a bunch of them. We will continue landing on Minmus for other reasons, so I'll take it because it's free money in the bank whenever we go. Rescue Sonri from orbit of Minmus. We've been there and done that, and I'm sure Sonri can find their way home. You know, you just open the door and fart a little bit. You know, throw some tennis balls off, and you'll be creating Delta V. You'll get home. It's Minmus. You know, you just whistle, and you're probably there. We also have a butt-ton of tourist contracts here, huh? 3 tourists that want things like landing the moon and Minmus, landing Minmus, but not the moon, landing Minmus, but not the moon. But, you know, they also want things like, yeah, I want to land on Minmus, but also could I fly by the moon on the way, or orbit around the moon on the way? Ridiculous contracts that they put together, and I would like to actually build a vessel that was designed to do these ridiculous contracts at the cheapest possible price in order to make the most money off of these tourist suckers. Land on Minmus, orbit the moon, land on Minmus, fly by Minmus. Hey, that one actually makes sense, because we do all of those things, going to Minmus and landing on it. Orbit around the moon and land on Minmus, not so much. Land on Minmus, and that all makes sense. Orbit and flyby of Minmus. And they're paying us a lot for just, you could have just said land on Minmus, and then we kind of do have to fly by and orbit in order to land. Yeah, even if we're trying to not actually orbit Minmus, I think at some point our trajectory breaks down to an orbit. Maybe not. You could probably, can you? Just like really suicide burn straight at it and never actually have the orbit and then slam up the just before you land. It's no, you're going to at some point technically be orbiting Minmus. But so there's those and flyby of the moon, land on the moon, land on the moon, flyby of the moon. But these guys aren't paying much for that landing on the moon. But I do want to like create a vessel. So here's my plan. Here's, you know, first hour of the live stream, it's we don't actually end up doing anything, right? I just sit here and talk. So here's my plan. I love the idea of building a ship that is specific to each of our Kerbals, each of our, you know, stock Kerbals. So Bill's got his engineer ship. Val ought to have her ship. She's a pilot, and she's our real pilot. We don't, you know, Jeb does grunt work for us. Val's the real pilot. So I like the idea of Val having either like a space plane, something in the way of an SSTO, maybe, single stage to orbit craft that she flies because she's a pilot, and so she should have like a jet cockpit and it should be maneuverable and stuff like that. I want Bob as a scientist to have a scientist's ship. And I want for Jeb, because he does the grunt work, to have that big tourist rig, because that's what we send him out for. So coming up with like a tourist rig where you can haul, you know, we've got a contract for like 4, 3, and then 2, so like 9 Kerbals. So if we could add like 12 Kerbals, you know, on one ship at a time, and then build that ship with the idea of they give us these stupid contracts that make no sense, so let's build for those stupid contracts that make no sense and make it so that like the individual tourist pods, we can stock them, we can put the tourists into certain pods and then have those pods be ones that are drop pods that can also return under their own steam. So that maybe like Jeb parks in orbit of the moon, people say they want to land on the moon. All right, everybody who didn't pay us to go to the moon, sit back, and then we release it, and then a probe and a very light construction takes it down to the surface of the moon, touches down, they look around for 0.2 seconds, because it's just wasting my time at that point. We fulfilled your contract, and then we come back, link up with the ship again, and carry on to, you know, Minmus or wherever's next. I love the idea of that. Would be a very complicated and finicky build, and maybe it wouldn't really work out the way that I'm imagining it, but that would be the fun of it. But so everybody gets their own kind of a ship. Val's ship in particular, I'm thinking the space plane thing, but having a space plane that's really cool and really fun for a pilot to fly around and be able to do cool maneuvers in atmosphere and look cool, just feels like a pilot's ship, you know, let's go, is not particularly useful in Kerbal Space Program. You know, hey, we got a ship it's really maneuverable in Atmo and really sexy when it's in space. What can it do? Not a lot. It doesn't really get much done for us. So what makes more sense for Val is to have a shuttle. And we can try and church it up as much as we can in the vein of a pilot's sort of aesthetic. But when you get down to it, what's needed more than anything is a shuttle, something that has a big cock or a big bay. I was going to say cockpit. I just cut myself off because that's the wrong word. It has a big bay. But when you cut yourself off in the middle of the word cockpit, something else comes out entirely. And that's big cock. Big cock coming out of my mouth doesn't sound right. The shuttle. So a shuttle would actually be useful, and that could be Valentina's ship. That she's flying something that has a nice big penis shuttle bay where she can carry up things like satellites and probes and whatnot for us, and maybe also capture things that are in orbit that we need to return, or, you know, that kind of a deal. So that's what I'm leaning toward in terms of Val's ship, and that might be what we're doing today, which is why I put it in the title, but I never really know until we get in here and look. Attach a new part to a satellite in orbit of Minmus. We've done it so many times before. Thank you, but God, that's a lot of money. Thank you, but no, unless we're going to Minmus. A position satellite in a specific orbit of Kerbin. We've already got one of those, and you don't pay that much. And we don't really need one, so that's a no. Position the aging Minmus MLA satellite in an adjusted orbit of Minmus. That's cheap, and it's a thing that we could do just, you know, it doesn't get us much money, but we could do it. Conduct seismic surveys of Kerbal. Yeah, that'll happen. Let's go look at the Minmus MLA satellite and see what's still on it and what they're asking of us. So this aging Minmus MLA is you. And you want us just to basically blow our periaps out a little bit more without changing the angle, which is no problem whatsoever. The only question is, do we have delta V on this aging thing? We're showing no delta V there, but do we have delta V in the way of monoprop or something? Because I'm pretty sure we came out here and gave this thing the ability to move itself around. Yes! Oh, and that so justifies the fact that I went out of my way to do that. So we do have RCS, and I did put one linear RCS port on to the satellite. So we should be able to do it. Let me just get a control from here or something. Where is the probe on the... Oh, well, that's the probe, you silly. So... Yeah, it's upside down is the thing. So if I just hit N... Yeah, we have authority over this. What's its weight is another thing. If I go over to here and then I pull up your info, 1.79 tons. We don't have a lot of monoprop, but what they're asking is not much either. Let's go back to the tracking station, so long as they're still asking for that mission. Even though I just moved the satellite a little bit to test whether or not we'd be able to do the mission. Aging Minmus MLA. There's still this contract to move it for the OMB Demolition Enterprise. We'll do that. It's free money, and it, you know, gets us doing something. Gets us started. So position that satellite, and we'll just go out and change that around real quick. And then we'll get into this idea of building Val a shuttle, and then maybe today what we'd focus on for the mission that we're going to do with the shuttle once it's made is the geosynchronous satellite, which, if I recall correctly, is... Which satellite is... I think it's this one. I think it's this one, and that's a different satellite that is actually more geosynchronous than the geosynchronous one, because this one goes around the planet in the correct direction, and this one doesn't. This is supposedly the geosynchronous one, and it's not. This one is at about the geosynchronous height. The apoapse is near to the periapse, and it's more equatorial than this one, and it's going around the planet in the right direction for it to possibly be considered geosynchronous. Oh, this game, though. Oh, this game. Maybe we even take both of those missions and bring up both satellites. 2 satellites at once, throw them up there. Well, they'd be going in different directions, though, Pawn. Well, if we sent both satellites up together to the higher apoapse, which would be the geosynchronous mission, at the highest of its apoapse, it's going really slow relative to Kerbal, which means that it can reverse its direction, not, you know, inexpensively in terms of delta V. And if it's a lightweight little satellite thing, then it should, you know, be able to do what I just said, for the reasons I just said. I didn't really need to say that again. But yeah, so we want you to head to your apoapse and then just blow this periapse out a little bit, and we're done. And you pay me 17,000 Kerbal, and I really shouldn't even waste my time, but I've chosen to. And I think it's neat because I didn't have a reason or a mission to give this vessel the ability to propel itself. It had no ability, but I brought it up because it's like, it's a satellite. You want to be able to move, right? Now we came up with a reason that's actually going to pay us for it. So that periapse needs to come up to 640 from 570. We're going to get on our prograde. I think we actually need to be on our retrograde, though. Because this is upside down. Like, this is the front of the ship as far as it's concerned. So we're pointing on our prograde, but then we're going to fire on our retrograde, which is going to drive us on our prograde. Let's see. Let's see. So RCS on, and periapps up. Periapps that we want to get to. We're close enough to the app. I don't. Okay, yeah, no, that is the wrong direction. So I was right in one of the things that I said. And spin us over to there. On our retrograde, I hit N, and that drives our periapps up and out. And that's the height that they want. And that's that contract done. 17 grand in our pocket. We did basically nothing. You're welcome, everyone. You're so welcome. Ooh, and we should put these on again. At least one of them. So I'm turning that scanner on, and can you hear that horrible sound in the background? That's the sound of that scanner, thanks to Chatterer. Bastard. But what it's doing is it's using this narrowband scanner in order to map Minmus. And if I switch my view over to Minmus and then come over to here and set up a, let's see, what do we got? Surface, ocean, atmosphere, ocean, surface. Surface, cut off, a color. Why don't I get anything from you people? Why aren't you showing me what I want to see? Which I believe was the colored one. 60% cutoff, or resource fraction. It should be pulling it up as a map, but maybe it's because the other satellite isn't showing us what we want. But doesn't this one like scan? Oh, no, there you go. There is something. Aha. Aha. So we've got there. It's showing ore. And one of these... yes. The larger, greatest flats. The greater flats or something like that. Also high deposits of ore. If we go up to 70, everything goes away. Apparently there's nothing on Mimus that has a higher than 60% ore deposit rate. If I understand this. But the fact that... that this satellite is, let's go back to that satellite, is orbiting with those scanners. Shouldn't it be like getting more detailed surface information right now? I mean, it's very high to be doing that. But isn't that the premise behind it? That it will, you know, as it loops around it, it will be mapping in more detail the lines that it's going around in? Hi, Pawn. Mission 1 complete in less than 30 minutes. Indeed. Except for that I'm still sitting here just jabbering on about it. And hello, little magnets. Is that how that works? Because otherwise, the purpose of the narrowband scanner is, you know, there isn't. Now, it does say ore surface too high. So, is it just saying that at this position, I'll be on and everything if you want me to, but I'm not doing jack shit? CurbNet access. Aha. Aha. So this is giving the more detailed view. But we're really friggin' far up here. Okay. Refresh cycle display mode. What are the display modes? It's just the one as far as I can tell. Color, waypoint. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I didn't put them up there. It was something that we inherited from another mission. Whatever. We just made 17 grand. So let's turn our attention to the idea of this shuttle that wants to be built. And I think I am going to go ahead and accept the surface outpost on the moon. 163,000, that's not worth my time at all. Science data from space around Minmus, that's free whenever we go back to Minmus, so I'll have that. But there was a position satellite in orbit of Kerbal just a second ago. An extra that is now gone. I guess we did go around, we waited for that satellite to get to the other side of its orbit, and it's very high, so it would have taken a minute. So yeah, I guess the one that I didn't take is now gone. Now gone? Gone. I mean, if we're going to Minmus sooner or later. It's probably no big deal to pick up a Kerbal on the way. Alright, Sonri. It expires in 1 day, 3 hours, 19 minutes, 1 second. Duration 12 years, 213 days. This Sonri Kerman has a lot of supplies on board whatever their ship is. So, I'll take it. We've still got one contract that we could take, and if we wanted to, I'm pretty sure we got enough money to upgrade mission control, yeah, to its maximum. Yeah. 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 Alright, so, a shuttle? I think I'll go ahead and upgrade the spaceplane hangar. Just because we got money lying around. And it would need to be done sooner or later. And it's ugly in there without it. Boom. First upgrade to the spaceplane hangar. A shuttle for Val. A shuttle for Val with lots of room to store spooples. So, for storing spooples, we want to be looking in aerodynamics, sorting by mass, and realizing that I need more aerodynamic parts. I don't think any of the, like, bays that we'd want. Cargo. Yeah, the airplane kind of bays. Payload is also not really here. Right? I'm not crazy crazy with that? I don't think so. So, we've got some science to spend, if I recall correctly. 457.3 of it. Let's go into R&D and look at what we can get in terms of plane stuff. Cargo bay. It's that big, thick, wide cargo bay, which is probably what we want. Yeah. And then 300 and 160. We would be 3 short of getting both of these. What would heavy aerodynamics be? Ooh, passenger module? Oh, that's what Jeb's gonna want. That's what he's gonna want. Ooh, and the big old cargo bay if we wanted to go crazy on Val's ship. Thing is, I hate to give her... I mean, it's a shuttle pawn. It is a shuttle. I think what we're gonna do... What else is on the table here that I could be buying? Great big fairings. Flags! That's okay, don't really care. Proper docking ports, though, the big guys. That's kind of important to me as well. If I skipped past this and went straight to the Mark III giant-sized stuff, you wouldn't get the Panther. Do I get an engine out of this? No, I don't. Panther can be useful if you're going to SSTO it, but I don't think we are. It's a shuttle, damn it. I think I want that. I'm buying that, and then the only question is, with the 160 that we can't afford, but we will be able to, do we buy into more plane parts right here? So we have these options to build with, including that nice afterburner turbo jet engine. Or do I buy into specialized construction in order to get docking port, big-ass fairing, advanced nose cones that, you know, pull off in the right direction when you want them, ground anchor? I remember now hearing about that. I've never used a ground anchor before. Engine plate, grip strip, structural tube, a much bigger one. Oh, and the bicoupler, which I have several times been like, we need the friggin' bicoupler. How do we have the tricoupler before we have the bicoupler? And the modular girder adapter. So basically, for, you know, my money, it would be having the full-size docking port, the bicoupler, and maybe the stack separator for the big T25 stuff. Or it's this stuff. That engine, that cargo bay, those options. Anybody have any preferences? Because one way or another, what we're going to have to do, you figure out like what you think makes more sense for building a nice shuttle, whether or not we can build it exclusively out of all these Mark III parts that we just bought, which should be at the end of the list when sorted by mass because they're huge. With the at the end of the, are you all in payload? Aha, You are. And they're going to cost a lot to buy into. Well, I've got money. Cargo ramp? Not something we're going to need in this version of the shuttle. Anyway. Yeah, nice big sumbitch right there. That's a lot. And then you as well. Ah, that's really all we bought with that, huh? That kind of thing. SM-18 service. Oh, right. Yeah. I know what you are. But okay, what we need to do here and now is let's have a command pod, because we're going to need that 3 science that we didn't pick up in order to be able to afford one more tier. So we're going to make ourselves a quick scientific scam. Gonna have you there. We're going to do the fluid spectrometer. We're just going to put a bunch of scientific tests on something that we can just set out on the pad and just research the pad. Magnetometer boom won't work on the surface. Thermometer, seismic, and barometer. What are you? Surface scanning module? Do you do science? I don't think that does science. There's no test associated with it, is there? Science experiment? No. And so that's one of those. That's really all we need. Yeah. Who's in there? Well, it should be Bob, because he's the scientist and he hasn't gotten to do anything yet. So put you out on the pad, Bob. And we're just going to collect the data about what it's like, scientifically, to be stood on our, runway. Which, is it still dirt? It's still dirt. So we're going to be studying the dirt of the runway here. Let's start with the low-level stuff and go up. Crew report. Reporting in at the runway. Good thing there's not a lot of air traffic, because I don't think we ever got clearance from the tower to be here. Is that right, Houston?
Yeah, you're definitely not supposed to be down there, and I do have a jetliner coming in. I'm just kidding. It's a dirt runway. Nobody comes here.
Okay. Wow. He had a lot of coffee today, I think.
What do you mean? Am I talking fast or something? I just drink what I usually do.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of coffee. So, with the crew report, we got a crew report and a thermometer. Log the temperature. Quite literally nominal temperature. That was because we're just right here, aren't we? Gathered precise acceleration data while subjecting the vessel to the situation of sitting perfectly still on the ground. Good. And then the barometer collected and recorded atmospheric pressure from the ground, which is always helpful. Let's go up to the mystery goo. What do you have to say? Seems to behave very much the same as it always does around here, because this is where we keep it. Yeah, go ahead and conduct the material study. Love that model and animation. That's brilliant. Materials show little signs of change, though one of the samples appears to be judging you silently. As is some of the ground crew, according to what they just... Oh, what, you can't exit? Because the thing is blocked? Blocked by a mystery goo? It looks... Blow the bolts and step out, damn it. Oh, I forgot about you. Run atmospheric analysis. Temperature and pressure readings suggest today is a good time for flying as any. I almost forgot about you sitting on the back. So we can't get out and get a EVA or a ground sample. It does not matter. We collected more than the 3 science we need. In fact, we collected 27 science, putting us up to 184. And Bob Kerman has not... He didn't learn anything from that. Damn it. How did he get in it? That's a good question. Maybe he was in there and then they bolted everything to it and... He's just stuck like a magician in the... You gotta have a key or something. In an emergency, have an axe on the side of the stage or something. Somebody's gonna drown. So, still, no one in chat has expressed whether or not they feel I should do the supersonic flight in order to get access to the Panther turbofans or something with this purchase. Or whether I should get myself the big old you know, docking ports, along with fairing and stack separator and... Oh, it's a stack separator. It's not even like the decoupler. We already have the decoupler. That's not that valuable to me either. Don't really need the ground anchor. So is the only truly valuable thing a big fairing... I mean, I consider these three things helpful, and the bicoupler because we run into wanting it occasionally. But do we need it right now? Is the question you'd want to ask yourself. That or this? These are the kind of plane-type, planery planes that you'd be planing. We got the big old Mark III cockpit. It seats 4. This is going to be a shuttle and a half if I'm using that. I don't think I will be using that. I think I'll be adapting to different sizes. In terms of adapting to different sizes, do we have an adapter that goes down from the massive Mark III to the weird shape? Or do we get an adapter that would manage that here? Mark II to 1.25. And we get a bicoupler. Are there adapters that go from Mark III to Mark II? Mark III to 2.5 meter, but not to like Mark II. Just trying to merge the Mark II parts with the Mark III parts doesn't seem like it's a thing that's going to happen. I'm going to go with this then. Boom, and I've done it. Decision made. All right, now we can start building. Unless somebody wants to take a live stream break, because I could pee. I've only been here for 45 minutes. All right. We'll actually try and get something done, I guess, then. Sorted by mass. Looking at the cockpit. I said I don't want to use it, but let's buy into it and put it out there. Oof. So what's the mass here? 3.5 tons and 4 people can sit in it. I mean, Val would probably be pretty happy to fly such a big-ass thing. But it's just a lot. It's just excessive. I mean, we want to go up to that size. But we can adapt down, up to that size from something more reasonable. Which, for Val, would be that. Pretty small. Pretty small one-seater pilot kind of a thing. But to have room for 4 Kerbals... on a vessel that... It's Val's ship, it's not everybody's ship. Maybe Val does get it. Maybe it is everybody's ship. Maybe the shuttle is the shuttle, and then Val ends up getting that space plane setup you were talking about. We need the shuttle today. What I'm going to do for now is build off of this, because I think it's more... I don't know... Sane? Sane is... yeah, that. So over to fuel tanks, because we're going to be looking for things that adapt. We've got a 2.5 to the Mark III. We're going to need that. Man, costing a lot of money just to buy into these things. We're down to 4.5 million, 4.6 million more or less, from the over 5 million we started with, I believe. Maybe we were 4.9 when we started, but a lot of money just buying into the tech. Mark III to 2.5 adapter slanted. And then we've got that standard adapter. I'm going to want to be able to see both of them. I'm going to want liquid fuselage short. I'm going to want 42,000. Holy crap, the buy-in just to have these options. What are you? Well, you don't cost much to buy into. What the hell are you? You're LFO. You've got liquid fuel, and you've got oxidizer, and you've got solid fuel? What the hell are you? Bored with plain cylinders, the engineers at Jebediah Kerman's Junkyard and Spacecraft Parts Co., which that's a conflict of interest, Jeb. You can't work here and also sell parts to us. Dick. Came up with this snazzy new design. Includes built-in separation boosters for good measure, because you can never have enough boosters. What? So just having this on... When you say separation boosters, do you vent this way? Because that's what you'd have to do. Yeah, I guess so. The bottom as well? No? Is it presumed to be like an angled detachment then? But it like, so it rips it off. That's a thing. Apparently. That's curious. Okay. Yeah, nice. As long as I'm buying into these things, I'm in for a penny, I'm in for a pound. Buy me into all of the fuel tanks that I can possibly have right now. And now we're $500,000 down. Great. So in terms of adapters and majiggers and stuff, what about you? So you're already too big of a size, so we need the adapter that goes from that size to that if we're going up, which I think we're going up. Ooh, what about you? Yeah, we could go a little bit smoother on the transition, like that. And then from this, I believe that's the 2.5 meter. I hope it is. It is not. From that... So, do you go up to... You're the same thing. And you're the same thing. You're the exact same thing. You? Aha! Oh yeah, this is gonna be a monster. And then... Oh, Jesus. Yeah, that's the thing. Are you LFO? You're LFO, you're LFO, you're LFO. Goodness. It just looks so wrong to have that on there. If I got rid of you and I got the Mark 1 inline and then I attach to there, it's still gonna look wrong eventually. One way or another, it's gonna look wrong. 0.936 instead of 1.18. Same electric charge, same monoprop capability, same impact tolerance, same skin temperature. It just doesn't have a nose on it. And you put the nose on it, it probably comes up to more or less the same weight. But everything else is the same, like the reaction wheels and everything. Pitch torque of 10 each, pitch torque of 10 each. Yeah, it looks like it's precisely and exactly the same, just without a nose on the front of it. Well. I mean, the other way to go is just to keep it simple, stupid, and stick with... She's a pilot, man. She's got to be able to see forward as she goes. It's that, and then it's... I never said that this was going to fly. It's a shuttle. It will be rocketed up off of not the space plane hangar, but, you know, it's not... It might have wings to, like, come down, or maybe, I don't know. It's a shuttle. The important bit, Pawn, yes. Wow, look at that. Mass. We couldn't build it in this thing if we wanted to. We couldn't launch it from here. Mass is up to 25 tons already. Payload. So, big cargo bay. And give it that one, too, to just extend that cargo bay to be significant. And then... Yeah, you're definitely not the correct size, but it would be nice if our center of mass wasn't just up front. You know, maybe we've got a balance of things. Just thinking about some options. Well, we could do that. And that pulls the center of mass more down back toward the middle of the craft. And then something engines. So if we... Like, is there a short way for me to get to the Mark III back down to something reasonable? And it looks like the answer to that is no, in which case probably just get rid of that and do that. Go immediately back down. Let's close this up. And see what I've done here. Yeah, we would want this on the center, though. So that would be this guy instead. And that gets us back down to a somewhat reasonable size. And then with the engines, in terms of mass, Skipper, the Goliath, the Bobcat. Bobcat has good vacuum and at sea level thrust. Skipper also manages it. I feel like there's a bigger gap between the... Yeah, between the at sea level and the vacuum thrust on the Skipper. But the Bobcat, you know, what are you even capable of? You're the wrong size, first off, but what are you capable of in terms of TWR? 0.82 alone on this massive vessel that's got so much fuel aboard. It is already more fuel than we want or need. Do I have just straight friggin' adapters under structural? You got the FL10, that's way too small. But the 0.1 ton, I've got it in my hand, surely. Where... Oh, there you go. Okay. Hi, how you doing? Welcome to the show. So if, instead of you, we had that... Oh, and you go straight up to the other. Okay, so then break that off, throw you away, pull you in. It's definitely a whale at that point. 3,291 meters per second, only a 1.05 TWR at sea level? Yeah, at sea level. If we set our altitude to something like a 12, TWR of 1.11, this wouldn't be burning itself up anyway, right? It wouldn't be... That's not how you'd do that. It's a shuttle. 3,492 meters per second, huh? Let's look at our Delta V map here. So it's 3,400 to get to orbit. We usually do about 1,200 on... 1,000 to 1,200 of the Delta V comes from the SRBs, and then we throw those away. And that leaves us with 2,400 to 2,200 worth of DV to make in the liquid fuel. At 3,400, that would leave us 1,000 once we're in orbit, which is less than what I would like. This engine is just underpowered for any task that we might imagine throwing at this craft. In structural, I don't suppose I got adapters out of here that would help. What is this one? I can buy in. Size are you? You do go down to the super small, so just because I'm curious about how that would look. Oh, that's cute. Oh, that's cute. And it would be useless. Cute and useless. That's what they used to. That was my nickname in college. Yeah, I used to be cute back then. Things went real downhill ever since. That engine just not enough. Hello, Red Panda Plays. A cockpit at both ends and some rotatable engine pots on the side. You know, having multiple engines on the sides of the shuttle, more in the style of a jet kind of thing, is not a ridiculous idea. You know, a cockpit at both ends. You don't think Val can handle this on her own? She needs another locomotive engine, you know, needs another engineer sitting at the back. Okay, bring it back. She can handle it. She's got rear view mirrors that she wouldn't possibly be able to see from because of how wide the ship is. There's camera systems or something. I mean, with a craft this big, it's really on you to get the fuck out of the way. When you get down to it, if it's backing up and it's coming at you, that's between you and your god. Here's space, swept wings. Swept wings. What are we looking at there? Oh, you're tiny. Oh, you're little wee nothing wing. These are the heaviest in the deltas. I mean, they come out. We don't want it to be excessive, but it's got to have some meat to it, you know? So that's the small delta. If I used the small delta, and then I came back, and then what do? You're that. Looking at the shapes and how they might go together before I go buying into this stuff. Yeah, you all want to do that, and that's the opposite. You need to go, your long end needs, like this. Like that is what needs to happen. And if that did happen, you can finish that off that way. I'm just looking at some things. Don't at me, bruh. Don't at me. Straight Sunday chillin' or whatever the fuck it was. Pawn. Build big if you're gonna build big. Give me the swept wing type B. That comes out. Oh, does that come out though? Two, put them on either side. So snapping holds it in the middle. Yeah, but then can you come back off of that with something equally huge? This and this. You and without the thing, and then you get that. That's what happens there. So I don't think that's the one you want. I think we're talking the big old deltas. Because the idea is that the shuttle has to come back down, you know, in one piece. And we have to be able to land it or something like that. So once this is empty, can it float back to the surface? And I'm just looking at, you know, size of wings. And I know these are all attached in an ugly way. Just fleshing it out, looking at shapes. Swept wings. Well, those swept wings, is it these ones that I said, oh, you're tiny, you're wee, you're nothing, you're a babby. Because they're not nothing. They're a bit tiny and wee, but they're not nothing. That looks so cool. She's a pilot. It's gotta look cool, you know? This is just... It's very shuttle-y in terms of just being ugly. There is that it's got going for it. If I've got you... I mean, I need a lot of flat surfaces, though. Open that up. Yeah, that's... Clearances make sense. It's a whale, Pawn. It is a whale. Why are you trying to make it look cool? It's a whale. It's always gonna be a whale. It doesn't not look cool. Doesn't it not? Alright. What are you? How big are you guys? Oh, now there's the big boy. There's the big boy. What if I got rid of this and wasn't making my own and just went with something that's pre-built? Already looks cool. You contain liquid fuel, don't you? You do. I don't need liquid fuel. It's LFOs that I need. So yeah, you could be empty. That's enormous for the wing size. Not saying that it's enough, you know, lift as it is, but man, they get out there, don't they, though? And we're very close to where they would want to, yeah, put the center of lift just behind the center of mass like that. Engines and things still need to go on. We'd want, you know, something back here. I mean, maybe not. Maybe that's like part of how we push this thing up to space, is that it's just on the tip of a, and then there's something in SRB. I don't know. I don't know, man. That's only 10 parts right now. That gets it done so quick. I would like to go with that, actually, with something like that. This cockpit. Bill's ship, it seats 2, anyway. So Val's ship could reasonably seat 2. I don't think that would be a problem. The Mark II command pod would be, I believe, the right size for that. Took you off, put you on there. It would not be the right size for that at all. Nor would that adapter be the correct size anymore, which would be another structural part adapter. That ain't it. That ain't it. That ain't it. I said you ain't it. Was I right? I was right that you ain't it. Do we not have an adapter that goes from this to that? Like, even if I bought into it? Go to the fuel tanks, then. Yeah, you ain't the right size. You ain't the right anything. What the hell? What are you? What is your size? What do you actually match? Not that. Not that. Not that. There you go, it's that. So how the hell do I get from that size to the other sizes? Apparently like that. I just want her to see where she's going. Ahead, like a pilot would. Maybe you just need to stop thinking about this as though it's Val's ship. And instead it is the shuttle. If it were the shuttle, and we were to just... It's too much. It's still too much. I still can't talk myself into that. I am still unable to convince myself that that is in any way a good idea. So that is not what we are going to do then. The cupola should be really not aerodynamic, right? Theoretically, this thing is as far from aerodynamicism as anything's gonna be. I'm gonna make you the root part just so that I can do this. And then maybe there's extra stuff that could be in there. Is this the... Let's see, control point up, control point forward. What would be forward on the cupola? Like, how are they seated in the cupola? Looks like a decapitated penguin. It does, yeah. It definitely needs a bit of a neck if we're gonna go this route. But I like it more. I like it more than that. Not saying that's a bad thing. What do you got against penguins, Florida Seidler? What do you... What, just because they're rapists? Come on. Back in the day, KSP TV, me and Harv and XX, the Goldfish XX. Maybe Enter Elysium was there. I don't remember who else would have been there, but we were doing a stream on KSP TV. It might have been for Kerbal, for Harv's thing, KPE. It might have been for one of the earlier KPEs. And like Kerbal TV was, it's just telling us, try and stay away from, just keep it kid friendly and just stay away from some topics, that kind of thing. It's KSP TV, that kind of deal. And man, if the Goldfish didn't go off on a rant about how penguins are rapists. And we had to throw the fishing line out and heel them back in and say, hey, remember what they just said like 15 minutes ago on KSP TV before we got here? It's like, oh yeah. To this day, it's still like hilarious. I hope that he remembers it as well as I, or as positively as I do, because it was brilliant in its impropriety. Totally worth it in every way. If I put a little bit more there and then just gave him a bit of a neck, here's the thing, maybe it doesn't need a neck, maybe we put like storage or something else that needs to be on this craft there, something that makes sense, But we talked about the idea of having the engines on the sides, and if we wanted the center of mass to be correct for this in space, then those engines really don't work with that wing being where it is, because if we put them like here, we don't want the engines to be off-centered down below this thing. For a plane, it's fine. For a spacecraft, you're always going to be going, so they need to be damn dead dop doodle center, dip dap doop doppel center. The other thing that we could do, though, is something along these lines, where we put you guys on. We don't need the liquid fuel in them. They'd just be for attachment and for making it look cool. And then we could grab this on absolute snapping and then twist it out so that it goes perfectly forward. And then find where we think it looks coolest. It's got to be on the dead center of the mass, though, like that. And that could add like 2 extra engines to the rear of the craft to push it from the rear. That back wing doesn't have to be center, though. Yeah, I suppose not. It could be lifted up to make room for the engines to be like back here along the side to push us. It would be really cool to have the engines there tucked. But this could be good too. I mean, I like the way that it looks so far. Let's explore all of the options. I'm gonna buy into the skipper. The skipper should actually be this size. Yeah. And then what kind of variants have you got? Ooh. Okay. That actually makes it fit between the others, which is neat. That makes it fit even more. Wow, I like all of the variants for this. That is it gives us nice spacing for other things to go around it. I don't hate. And that engine, in terms of TWR, actually gives us 1.66 all on its own to be on there. Again, however, this is, well, if it's given us 1.66 at sea level, actually at altitude, 1.48 at sea level if we were taking off on it, that's not bad. Lots more to be had at altitude, though, because it's a lot less efficient at sea level. In atmosphere than it is in vacuum. Goliath turbo fan. If we're actually going to try and fly this thing somewhere, we're not. Hint: we're not. The Poodle is also the correct size, and it is specifically for vacuum. The Poodle. Will you fucking stay up when I right click? At sea level, just 64 kilonewtons. And then in vacuum, 250 kilonewtons of thrust off of that. A lot lighter, 1.75, way more efficient once we get it to space, 3,677 meters per second, TWR of just 0.67, but it might be worth considering, can we fit a poodle in here? And that actually does fit and leave room for the engines either side of it. And then that would be our in-space engine for moving things. Still, you know, a lot of power. And then these engines would be more of our atmospheric things. For which we could go as simple as just a pair of swivels. Potentially. Anyway. Can I have another thing and put you there? Say 2,950 meters per second. At 1.07 TWR in vacuum. 1.04 at altitude. I'm just surprised that it's 1 point anything. What are your variants? Oh, I love that. Yeah, you got one in that color too, huh? You don't change color though, so it would absolutely be that for you guys. Let's look at the other variants here. Do you have anything that covers that over and makes it cool? Oh, right, the single. I do like the single. I've always liked the single. Do you go any further if I keep clicking here? You can go back to the 4-banger model. And then there's the big one that's actually got like a shroud to it. If I took it and actually I just grabbed it off, made sure that we were in one-time symmetry, held it there and rotated, puts those balls in a place where they're not impacting the others, that looks cool. And can't change the color of you, can't change the color of you, can't change the color of you. So Mark III is just, it looks like what it looks like, damn it. As do the wings. Yeah. Okay. That's only 1.04 TWR with a couple of swivels. And there's not much better that we'd get out of that class. We could go to Reliance, which would give us more thrust power, but we wouldn't have vectoring. Wouldn't have good vectoring. No. Like, you know, on both sides. You fool. It'd be 1.19 TWR, 1.2 at the altitude. It's not awful. It's not great either. And you've got that nice sheath thing too. Oh, and you've also got that for the gray version. I think I'd prefer the white version for this. I'd prefer it if this had a white version with the sheath, but it doesn't look like it does. Just goes to small. Ah. So it's because the model pack that I've got doesn't have one. And that's pretty cool looking. But keeping the engines on that, like, lift us. And then, like, adding to them with that guy, you know, like, that in vacuum, that gives us TWR of 1.84. It's still not, like, OP. And it will increase our efficiency in space. Be like that. What is the weight combination of those two things? So a Poodle, 1.75, and then 2 Reliance is 2.5. 2.5 and 1.75, 3.5, 4.25 tons. In comparison to the Skipper, which is 3 tons. And the Skipper alone did what for us? Oh, right. No, this is the Skipper that you wanted. The Skipper alone, in terms of TWR, It's, you know, the TWR is way better overall, but we are also getting 3,176 meters per second of delta V, whereas with these two, still 3,100, and then the Poodle, 3,015, because we've got extra. That's what? That's weird. That it combines that way. If I go to the Poodle exclusive.